Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I am joined by some of the best real estate minds, financial and wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Also, from time to time, we bring on special guests, and these special guests are recurring guests who have a deep knowledge in the Deferred Sales Trust. And this is a continuation of our series of Deferred Sales Trust Made Simple. It's a mini series inside of the podcast, and it's with the national trainer of the estate planning team, who Capital Gains Tax Solutions is a part of as an exclusive trustee. And so this is the fourth episode, and so we have three others that you can go check out. In fact, last week's episode, we covered things such as making the Deferred Sales Trust an investment rather than an expense. One of the biggest things for the Deferred Sales Trust or objections is, oh, it's really expensive, these recurring fees. And yes, there are some fees, and yes, it can be viewed as expensive, but once you understand how it's an investment and you can use it as a net income tax advantage, how you can save an estate tax, how you can lower your overall taxable income, and then also get a new depreciation schedule. It can actually become an investment rather than an expense, which is pretty sweet. So go check out that show. And please welcome to the show with me right now, Michael McIntyre, National Trainer of the Estate Planning Team. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Excellent. Well, so glad to have you here again. And so this episode, we're actually going to be talking about how the Deferred Sales Trust can actually help you grow your business, and actually help as a business professional. So the last three episodes were really focused on client-facing, the actual benefits there and the tax deferral. This one is now on the financial advisor, the business broker, the commercial real estate broker, syndicator. This particular episode, we're going to just cover just kind of the financial advisor and the commercial broker, and we're actually going to look at it from the perspective of Michael and I, because Michael was a financial advisor for many years. He's going to share a little bit about that story. Now he trains financial advisors on how to use the Deferred Sales Trust. And likewise, I actually am a commercial real estate broker, multifamily broker, and have been for many years. And that's when I first learned about it at Marcus & Millichap. So that is going to be the layout of the show. So Michael, let's start with your story right away. Walk us through a little bit about being a financial advisor, your background, and now your current focus, and then we'll dive into some of the strategies for financial advisors for the Deferred Sales Trust. Go.
Yeah, I started with a Wall Street firm, which is referred to as a wirehouse firm back then in the 1980s. I thought it would be very glamorous working on Wall Street, working with a Wall Street firm. It was hard work. As I said, I worked half days, 12 hours a day to provide, and it's a rough and tumble business. It's the worst business of all, where on good days it's fantastic and you are super excited, the market's up, your clients are up, and then on other days it's a difficult challenge. You're always gathering assets constantly, and you're constantly marketing, and you're constantly trying to be skeptical about different investments and strategies. So it's a natural thing that you need to gather assets. And one of the best ways that I have found to gather assets was pre-tax. You don't want to get it after tax. You want to get the money pre-tax. And in California, that's been increasingly a challenge. I know when I sold my practice, capital gains rates were 15% federally. There was no such thing as a net investment income tax. In California, it was a bit more reasonable, I think 8.3, and now it's 13.3. There's actually legislation out there to go to 16.8 and to have a wealth tax when you exceed, I believe it's $30 million of net worth. So that's an increasing problem, is taxation for the client. The other one that you fight is volatility and then inflation for your clients. So those are your battles that you do. Well, imagine if you could find a strategy, not specifically an investment itself, because clients that are out there are looking for strategies. They're not looking for the financial advisor to pitch them on some investment. They're looking for real solutions themselves. And the Deferred Sales Trust offers the ability for a highly appreciated asset, such as real estate or a business, to diversify, and even a collectible like a barn find, like a car or a painting. Any of those can sell if you're thinking and contemplating selling a business or real estate, and diversifying into a lower risk investment, as we say, going from tenants, toilets, and trash to cruises, clubs, and cocktails. And the financial advisor is in this great position of being the cruises, clubs, and cocktails. And so that allows you the freedom and flexibility to get more assets under management, and to do the right thing for the client and diversify them and not be hamstrung down by other constraints. It's bad when when I first got into business, there were many people that sold so-called tax shelters. And those things blew up real quickly, because when the tax dog wags the investment tail, you're in trouble. With the Deferred Sales Trust, it comports into a diversified portfolio with many different options for the client.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll dive to some of those here in a minute. All right. Yes, Michael, thank you for sharing that. And that's exactly right. I think a lot of financial advisors, the old way of doing things is changing rapidly, especially with COVID-19 and what's happening, right? And I think I actually got my Series 22 and 63 when I first started. I was at Wachovia Securities. I was an intern. This is before I went to Marcus and Millichap. So I had a little bit of an introduction to that world. And it was a lot of, seminars, right? And a lot of mailers, a lot of face-to-face with folks, and talking to them about strategies and investments and diversification and education. But at a certain point, a lot of that kind of shifted, or it wasn't as effective as it used to be, and the marketing cost was really high, because a lot of the industry has been commoditized in a lot of ways, and so things have shifted, right? So it's kind of like a blue ocean versus a red ocean. So talk to us a little about, just as the industry as a whole, especially the last maybe 5 or even 10 years, the shift between what a financial advisor gets a good return on for his investment for marketing, and those things that just really have kind of shifted and fallen flat recently.
Yeah, it used to be, the rubber chicken dinner circuit that you were referring to was the way to go for seminars, all sorts of things. But with COVID, the world has changed. What has worked in the past is not going to work today. What is actually working is we're having a record year this year. It's a spectacular year. When I first talked to financial advisors 10 years ago, and I talked to them about marketing to business brokers, commercial brokers, and CPAs, they said, well, the CPA thing might work, okay? That might work itself. Sorry, having a little camera problem here. That might work, is the CPA thing, but I don't know about those commercial brokers. We're competing with them and those business brokers. Well, the tax laws have changed. People are aging, and there's the mother lode of money right now, which has to do with this shift, this tectonic shift of both demographics of people wanting to retire and getting out of the tenants, toilets, and trash. And let's just talk about that for a minute. You and I are in California, and in California, certain counties, I can just think of LA County. I'm in Orange County. In that county, you cannot even evict somebody until March. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean the queue of thousands of people are there in March at the courthouse? And then there's cap rates. Cap rates have plummeted down, crushed down. So, your mom and dad taught you to buy low and sell high, as our as my partner Robert Binkley says, but they never taught you to buy higher, right? Sell high and buy higher. So these cap rates, I was just searching on CoStar yesterday, and I was looking in the LA Valley, and there you're looking at cap rates in maybe the 3 range, 4 range. Now, by the time you're done with 40% expense rate as average, you're probably looking at 1-2% rate of return. That's not real exciting. And then you're dealing with an even bigger problem of hassle. You've got people who maybe aren't paying rents, and you've got more tenants problems and toilets, and the same amount of toilets and trash. So how's that an improvement? Are you betting on just growth at this point? As you get older, at least for me anyway, I'm a little grumpier about people. I'm not as patient as I used to be with things. So that's that's a challenge, is trying to get a yield out of something that just doesn't have it, because rents have not caught up to growth. So the values have gone up. So that cap rate, your yield ultimately, has just been crushed. So there's a really big percentage, and I don't know what this percentage is. I've tried to research it, but what percentage of people just are not interested in doing a 1031? That used to be the gold standard. In fact, as a agent and maybe, or a broker, commercial broker, you used to, or a regular agent, you used to think that you could get both sides of the transaction, what's called the down leg and the up leg, right? And you could get both of those commissions. That doesn't happen anymore. And frequently the client doesn't qualify for it. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and they failed their 1031 and they don't know what to do, and they had to pay the taxes. So these are things, we're an alternative to a 1031. So 10 years ago, real estate was a religion, right? And you know, as an agent, you thought it was heresy to, or a broker, heresy to do something other than real estate. Let's pray to the real estate God, lowercase g. And now people are thinking, wow, I really need to diversify. I'm not making a lot of money out of this, and evictions are hard, and real estate's harder than it's ever been. So real estate brokers need to be looking at an alternative. At your core competency as a real estate broker, you are a problem solver. You're trying to take a hard asset maybe to a liquid asset, or to another, or to an improved income source for your client. That's your job. And your due diligence and bringing it to that is part of how you'll be highly compensated. And then next, if you have a languishing listing, an LL, okay, languishing listing, it takes forever to sell, that drops your profitability down, right? And if you don't sell, you make zero, okay? That's not real good. And there are, as I say to business brokers and commercial brokers, there are 2 commissions that the client's going to bring up at some point. There's your commission, and then there's the government's commission. Which one would you like to negotiate down?
That's so well said, Michael, and so true and so spot on. And at the, you know, what I learned at Marcus and Militap, and even at Wachovia Securities, is you get paid for adding value to your client. And when you're not adding value, you're less likely to win business or keep business and help your clients create and preserve more wealth. And it's got to be tangible, right? It's got to be something that's foundational to building wealth, such as diversification, such as being able to buy real estate at optimal timing when it makes sense for you, such as being able to make a lifestyle change, right? It's not always financial. It could be get rid of the toilets, trash, the tenants, the liability, and all of the headaches that are associated with owning real estate. And as a part of the American Bankers Association study, which shows that about 17 to 20 trillion will pass from one generation to the next in the next 20 years. This is the baby boomers. 10 years ago, they were younger. Right. And now it's 10 years later, they're older, and they're less likely to want to have to deal with all of the ever changing laws and regulations, and let alone COVID-19 and the eviction. So the key is options. You know, I feel like if you can bring options and you can bring viable strategies that help your clients create and preserve more wealth, you win, right? They win, and your business will grow because of it. And I can speak to that. That's where I was at Marcus & Millichap in 2006. I still have clients and family, friends. Some lose half, some lose all of their wealth after the '08 crash hit. They had bought high, and they took on too much debt, oftentimes because of the 1031 exchange, feeling that they didn't have any other option to defer the tax. Unfortunately, I hadn't heard about the Deferred Sales Trust until 2009. And so as a part of this, it was blood in the streets, right? And Sacramento was one of the hardest hit cities in the nation for kind of boom and bust. It's kind of been that way for California, unfortunately, over the years. And so when I learned about the Deferred Sales Trust, I was like, oh, you can actually do something different, and it actually can get you out of debt. It can get you diversified. It can give you the ability to get back into real estate whenever you want. I'm saying this is the golden goose that I should have been feeding, right? Not the 1031 goose that is pretty ornery, or I like to call like the blockbuster goose, very restrictive, and very really time restriction is the biggest thing, but also diversification. You can't get out of the real estate and go into, let's say, securities, right? You have to stay within real estate. So that being said, let's talk now about the financial advisors. And by the way, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get your deferred sales trust started right now. If you have a live deal, or if you have a client who's considering it, you can go there as well. Michael, let's talk about a little bit about the financial advisors now that you train. Okay, and so my understanding is you're a financial advisor. You actually sold a lot of CRTs, and we can go back to a different episode for that. But now you train financial advisors on how to actually grow their business. So maybe give us some tangible examples of some of the advisors you've helped over the years do this.
So one of the biggest challenges to a financial advisor is this incredible need to constantly market and constantly be hungry for new capital and to market for that. And the reason is a game of growing your assets under management called AUM. This makes you very, very hungry all the time for getting new capital in, because if you're not growing, you're dying as a financial advisor. And where is the money, right? Willie Sutton, right, the famous bank robber, said, well, they asked him, well, why do you rob banks? He says, well, that's where the money is. So if you look at this picture of the country's net worth, it's $120 trillion. And of that $120 trillion, where's the money? And people in the financial services industry constantly go for the easy money, which is cash and a takeaway from another financial advisor. And that's great. If that's working for you, fantastic. But there's the, as Paul Harvey used to say, right? There's the rest of the story, right? And so the rest of the story is the financial world itself is stocks and cash and all of that represent maybe 40% of the country's net worth. Private equity and real estate make up the vast majority of the country's net worth. And that money happens to be in transition right now. Like you were saying, 20, 30 trillion dollars. I don't know what that number is, but it's a really big number. Now, wouldn't you be smart if you, instead of drooling all over a financial statement for when a client walks in, of you actually being able to make that change for the client? And the other issue that you have as a financial advisor is the death of your client. So if you're not prospecting, right, you're going to, once your client dies, there was a Credit Suisse study that was probably 20 years old, and I think it's probably true today. It says 92% of the time when your client dies, you lose the account. That's not good. That's in fact one of the reasons that I sold my practice, is that I looked at the fact that I didn't want to have to rebuild that again. And then like a decent dinner that you eat, right? And you like the food, but then you, on the way home, you see a better restaurant. You say, oh, darn it. So I found out about the Deferred Sales Trust after I had already done that. I'd already paid that tax.
What did that feel like, Michael? Could you take us to that point? I want you to take us to those emotions. you're driving or you're watching, you're hearing about this. Like, take us through, like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known. What did that feel like?
You're angry at whoever your advisors were, whether it be a CPA or whether or not, and maybe a business broker, or I would imagine a commercial broker. You're mad at them, and you'll never use them again after you learn, like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you explain that to me? So that's certainly some of the emotions, and then you feel stupid. There's the blame, there's the anger, there's I don't know, whatever those steps are, right? That you go through those emotions.
There's
But the other one
denial.
is,
There's like, wait, this deferred sales trust is probably too good to be true. Probably doesn't work, right?
yeah, there's a part of you that just says, no, it's got to be fake because then I'm right. So there's, you look smarter that way. But
Yeah.
occasionally you have to admit your stupidity on things. And
Yeah.
in this business, right? I got great advice when I first got into business. I really didn't know in my 20s what he was talking about, but he says, you're either humble in this business or this business humbles you. And I've learned that that's very, very true, as I don't know that I'm always humble, but fortunately I have many blessings of children around me that help me, and a beautiful wife that helps me with that. But I think it's important for the financial advisor to look at longevity in this business. And the Deferred Sales Trust offers longevity in that I call it sticky money. So the sticky money aspect of it is, if your client passes away, there's a continuity plan. They're actually the lender. Your client is actually the trust. And we can talk about that in another episode, but your client's not going to die. And if you work it right with the client, with estate planning, and again, that's why we call it the estate planning team, not the estate planning me or you or anybody else. There's a whole team. But going to a continuity plan with a client, whether they have a special needs child or a spendthrift child, a child that'll just spend it all on Ferraris and pearls or whatever, and do something like that. You need to have that continuity plan, because their plan, if they don't have a plan, you don't have a plan either for the sale of your business. Because one day you'll want to sell your business, your practice, your financial practice, and your multiples, your EBITDA multiples will be greater. If I'm a buyer and I see that you as a financial advisor have a plan, and it's 10 years, that our average promissory note is around 10 years. And 99% of these clients wind up, as the note holder, wind up renewing that note. As Robert Binkley says, I want to pay the taxes on the seventh day to never, if I'm the note holder. So continually renewing that means that your value as a practice to a buyer goes up. And you should always build everything to sell it. I highly recommend that. And you should be building your practice that way. And that way, you'll be building it for yourself. Even if you never sell, you have a better practice because you built it to sell it. And so it's sticky money, it's more money, okay? And it's grateful money. You have just pulled, as a financial advisor, think about this. You've saved the client 20, 30, 40% on their money. Okay? That's a big cushion of error in the event that you do you have really built up some goodwill because you pulled the thorn out of the tiger's foot. Okay? They're forever grateful for you for that.
That is so well said, and I always want to bring a deal story in to highlight this, because to bring what we were talking about to actual deals. By the way, the Deferred Sales Trust, thousands of closes now, over 25 years. Thousands of financial advisors have joined the estate planning team and work with us to provide the Deferred Sales Trust. And so that being said, I want to dive into an actual deal story, and this is one of Robert Binkley. By the way, Robert Binkley is the co-founder of the Deferred Sales Trust, founder of the estate planning team. Michael and I is good friend. He actually manages money for myself, my family, and 95% of my clients. That being said, one of his clients was a gentleman who was a financial advisor who sold his practice. For 35 years, he was a top LPL advisor, and he was in Southern California. and he thought he had seen everything under the sun. He thought he had seen every strategy and every way to defer tax and ways to to diversify, and all of a sudden, fortunately for him, he hadn't sold his practice yet when he heard about the Deferred Sales Trust. But his initial thought was, this is too good to be true. I probably would have already seen it. But as he kind of peeled back the onion and learned about it, he kind of had an ace card in his pocket. His wife was a Treasury attorney for the United States government, and she actually had been on different IRS cases against corporations on that side of things. And so she has some contacts that she knows. And so he said, look, honey, I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize our future, our retirement, or anything else that would be illegal. It has to be 100% legal. But if this works, we can retire today based upon the value of the practice, what would have taken us maybe 10 to 15 more years to get to that value after tax, right? So we can, before tax, sell and defer, sell today, and that's going to give us back time and the chance to travel more, and a lot of what we've always wanted to do with our kids and these different things. So it wasn't just the money, it was the time that it represented. And so he went to her and he said, hey, here it is. If you say yes, I'll sell my practice today and I'll retire right now. If you say no, no problem, I'll keep working, but it's in your court. And so she took it and she went to the folks that she knows, and within 48 hours she came back. And he said, it's the day that changed my life. She came in and I wasn't expecting it to be a yes, but she says it's legit. Those two words changed my life. He goes, within the next 90 days, I had sold my practice. We had moved from California to the Midwest, and he goes, we've never been happier, right? And that was, I think, over at least 12 or 13 years ago now. And he goes, look, if there's any financial advisor out there who's selling their business and wants to hear my story, they can call me, right? And these are the folks that we have. Once you engage with us, connect with us, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And also the estateplanning.com, and mention this show for Michael and I to get you signed up if you want to join as a financial advisor. But that being said, Michael, your story wasn't that, right? You had paid the tax, then learned about it, but in a sense, it actually fueled you to now spread the message, right? And to help others. So give us some tangible stories now of those that you've coached to grow their business, and with the Deferred Sales Trust. What has it done for them? What's the biggest transformation you've seen for those who have applied the Deferred Sales Trust as their part of their marketing strategy?
Yeah, I get the opportunity to train hundreds of advisors each year. It's an amazing opportunity. So I see young, I see older, I see mature. And one of the common themes that I hear is, why haven't I heard of this before? So I say, well, what kind of makes you special that you've heard it before? I basically experienced that as well. And we work with top advisors that are interested in growing their practice. And what's very good about financial advisors is that they're good at following. You basically have to follow, as a financial advisor, what your firm says. You have to cinch up your collar at the right time, put your tie on, and a lot of that. But in the last 10 or 15 years, we've had independent financial advisors. It used to be there were really big names with great goodwill that are out there, big names that had incredible names, but that all changed in 2007, and in the involvement of people wanting to become independent. That goodwill that the firm has is no longer lent to the financial advisor. So financial advisors have had to machete their way through the jungle of independent advisors, and in fact, creating their own firm and their own brand along the way. And that's really important for them to be creating their own brand, because the entire industry has been democratized through the internet, through independent sources, lower commissions, lower fees, and the advisory fee revenue business. So, you're really a lone wolf in a lot of senses, or you're if you're in a big firm, you're basically blockaded from being nimble. These big firms are very slow moving behemoths that are preventing you from getting business. No longer is it possible for you to do the right thing for the client when you're told what you can sell. When I first got in the business, I thought, wow, this is going to be glamorous. And there was kind of a phone hanging from the ceiling tile with a phone out of, and then they said, here are your clients, which are, the New York phone directory, right? And then here is what you will sell. And it's a list of stocks, okay? So that was the sales training back in the 1980s. Well, it's a lot more, complicated and sophisticated now, but it does come down to you prospecting and finding clients, right? And what better client is that's in transition? Well, a client that is motivated to sell their business, is already listed to sell their business, a client that has already decided to sell their real estate, their commercial real estate, has made a major decision in life to do this. Now, what if we could put a cape on you, superhero status, okay? You're going to be able to take taxes off the table for that seller. That puts you into a great position, and you'll also make superheroes out of business brokers, commercial brokers, and CPAs. All of these people all are problem solvers like yourself. So we have so many stories of financial advisors connecting up with with clients. I think the best one ever is Robert Binkley. I said, what percentage of your business do you owe to the Deferred Sales Trust? His answer, 100%. I owe everything to it, okay? We have a number of advisors that are getting 30, 40, and 50 million a year in new assets. We could certainly, next week, I will do a webinar for some of my financial advisors, some that have just started in 90 days, some that have done it for 2 years, and some of them are 5 years or longer. It's a fantastic opportunity to listen to success and learn from that. And basically, the professional partner network that we developed, sometimes we call it the jockey, and the jockeys ride lots of horses, right? So business brokers, commercial brokers, and CPAs have lots of horses. Those horses sell their business, they sell their real estate, they sell collectibles, they sell all sorts of things. And that's why we're having a record year. At first, we were kind of laughed at to market to them rather than marketing directly to the client. That rubber chicken dinner was working. It isn't working anymore. It's not going to work. Everything changed when COVID hit. Everything will be different from now on. If you're 70 years old and you're getting together in groups and seminars, you're crazy, The value of doing the rubber chicken dinner is probably worth what a cruise ship scrap metal value is at this point. Yeah, so you've got to change. If you're not changing, you're in trouble. You're in a lot of trouble.
Well said, Michael. Well said. And so now we're going to shift a little bit to commercial real estate, right? So we mentioned we were talking about brokers. I mentioned a little bit before, but I want to tell a little bit about my story too, Michael, and help to. We'll just have a little discussion here. But I remember meeting Robert for the first time. He came into Marcus and Millichap and he told us about the Deferred Sales Trust. Again, it was 2009. And I was like, it was like one of those moments where you're going, oh my gosh, like not only could he have helped, the Deferred Sales Trust helped and the estate planning team helped defer the capital gains tax, but also get out of all that debt, right? And get diversified. And for folks who had lost everything, right, or half of their wealth and have to, crawl back and claw back a lot of their time and energy back into the property. And so it was also tough though, because now the values were down, right? And so although it was good to have the strategy, it took a while to even really for folks to be like, well, that's great. My property was worth $5 million. Now it's worth, 4 or 3.8. Talk to me in 5 or 10 years if it gets back. And that's kind of where it's gone now. Now the values have all shot back up, and I feel like we're at like a tipping point. But along the way, as I spoke and I added value and I helped them solve their challenges, the listings came and more business came and more referrals came. And I got in front of folks that otherwise were, entrenched with their old broker, right? And the one broker, had been there for 20 years, and he got the business from his dad, and so it's been, they always do all the deals there, but all of a sudden they were meeting with me because their old broker wasn't providing anything beyond the 1031 exchange. And so if you're watching this and you're hearing this and you're a commercial real estate broker or even a financial advisor that works with commercial real estate brokers, right? We found as you work as a team and solve the client and help the client build a dream team around themselves with folks that are using tools that can help one another outgrow their business. That's also one thing I think gets overlooked with the Deferred Sales Trust. It's no longer financial advisor and commercial real estate person, and now we're competing for the money. It's no. We have a Deferred Sales Trust, which is kind of like a bridge in between both worlds. You can sell high, park it into the Deferred Sales Trust, and put it into securities. 2, 3, 4 years later, you're allowed to, proper planning, send the funds, and the funds can be put into an LLC, and those LLC can buy real estate. So you can sell high and buy low. That's a beautiful thing, right? And that's really the key, because real estate, it's kind of like a big cruise ship or a big Titanic. It takes a while for it to turn, right? We saw the stock market kind of crash and then it came back. Well, real estate values maybe have shifted some, but it's still turning, and we think it's going to turn, and things are going to get, can get kind of ugly here in the next 6, 12, 24 months. But the same thing happened in the 08 crisis. 08 in October was, I think, the D-Day, if you will, for the market crashing, but it took a while for real estate values. In fact, I think the low wasn't until 2011, for real estate values nationwide. And so the point of all of that is having this tool enabled me to add value and enabled me to build relationships that ultimately led to more business. So much so now that I just coach commercial real estate brokers and financial advisors, along with Michael, business brokers and commercial real estate syndicators, on how to use this. But I can't speak highly enough for the Deferred Sales Trust, how it's helped me grow my business, but most of all, how it's helped me add value to clients who are looking for options. And so any thoughts on that, Michael?
Yeah, I think, you bring up a good point as what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me as a commercial broker? And what's in it for you is that if you only have the 1031 as an answer to respond, isn't that a one-trick pony, right? You just have that one answer, and one size does not fit all. If you have a one-trick pony, doesn't the trick pony break a leg every now and then?
That's a great point. I want to mention that real fast. So a lot of our objections for listings is, hey, look, if you find an up leg for me, I'll list the property. Or I would sell my property, but only if I have my up leg lined up. Or I don't want to list my property because I don't want to face the 45 days. Okay, I have too much capital gains tax. And so when you can relieve that pressure and just take it out completely, or even for those now who are older and going, I don't want to sell anything because I don't want to start over with new toilets, new trash, new liability. It's not even that the 1031 exchange, if you find them a deal, they'll do it. It's that they don't want to do a new deal. Like, they have enough wealth, they have enough money, their deal is going fine, and they don't see a compelling reason to have to start over with a new
it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. So you're seeing this shift with, even not with COVID, but with the demographics. And so when you can actually provide a better solution, a better way, again, it's like the Netflix versus the Blockbuster, right? You could say, well, yeah, I know, Mom and Dad, you used to like Blockbuster. You should like driving there and going into the store. But unfortunately, the Blockbusters have shut down now, and so have Hollywood Videos. But there's a thing called Netflix, and you can log in and you can watch whatever you want, and you don't have to drive in the snow, and you don't have to see if something's checked out. It's all right here, and that's what the Deferred Sales Trust is. It's like the Netflix versus the old Blockbuster. So any other thoughts on that, Michael?
Yeah, I just a couple notes here. By the way, wealth. I was reading Forbes, and the top Forbes wealthy people now, none of them, not any of the 10, are real estate anymore. Not one of them in the top 10. It's interesting because 20 years ago, everybody was real estate pretty much. But now most of those wealthy people are getting rid of their real estate. What does that tell you? Elon Musk just got rid of his real estate. So you're selling high and buying higher with the 1031. There's a high failure rate to a 1031. I call it the shotgun wedding, right? You got 45 days to identify and 180 days to close. And in California, in many states, you have to tell that seller that you're not going to be up for negotiation. They're the only one. So that's not a very good technique. I'm just saying, okay? And then you've got punting the depreciation. If you're out of depreciation with a 1031, okay, you have a small amount of money you got to buy up to get more depreciation to have a tax benefit. So a really big percentage of your value has gone away by doing a 1031 because you're not going to be able to shelter the income. And by the way, your income's down, okay? You've got a really low cap rate and go find that up leg. Go find something at 6 or 7%. Where is it? Is it in a appreciating area? There's this whack-a-mole problem. You go for income, you don't get appreciation, okay? So that's a problem, but you still got the tenants, toilets, and trash. And then, that all is this whole cap rate problem. It's crushing down. It's down, down, down. Some cap rates are 1% and 2%. How can you operate? You're going to get into this. I mean, when I first was in this business, it would be preposterous to think there'd be negative interest rates. Guess what? There are negative interest rates. And could there be, just an idea, could there be negative cap rates in the future or really, really low cap rates? Just a thought. I don't know if it could happen, but the preposterous of having negative interest rates has happened. The preposterous idea that COVID would shut down everything is crazy, a crazy idea. But I'm just saying that you as a business broker, as a commercial broker, you cannot have a one-trick pony. You cannot. Your trick pony is going to have broken leg. And all things have changed with COVID. In fact, if you're a business broker, we talked to business brokers in the Northeast, and they, a few weeks ago, I don't know if they're still there, but they were standing on the ledge wondering, if you were selling restaurants, you're out of business as a business broker, okay? They're down, and their EBITDA numbers are down. How are you going to bridge that gap as a business broker when your values have plummeted because those EBITDA numbers, that income multiplier has gone down? If that's gone down, then the sale value has gone down. What will you do to get to sale? You need a bridge. And let me just suggest to you that taxes, again, we get back to that question, you can either negotiate your own commission or the government's commission. I think you should negotiate the government's commission, and that may be that bridge that brings you closer to the sale. Because if you get an offer after you relisted it at a lower price, this is this person's life, sweat, blood, everything, having known that, and you need to be a good steward to that client. When you are, he will reward you forever. We've had examples, and I'll end with this, where the client sold the business, okay, and then they went back and that business that the buyer bought ran it into the ground completely, and it was worth maybe 10 cents on the dollar. The seller went back with the house money that was in the Deferred Sales Trust and bought their business back for 10 cents on the dollar. Same
all
business
tax
broker.
deferred.
All tax deferred. Yeah, all tax deferred. Bought that business back. Now they're in the process of selling that same business all over again. Bam! Exactly. That's awesome. Okay. Now
amazing.
That's 3 commissions. That's 3 commissions for the business broker. He got the one on the sale, the one on the purchase, and now he'll get the other one. Boom. Yep. Fantastic.
It's transformational, right? It's not just transactional. Like most business professionals, they're stuck in transactional ways of doing things. Again, the blockbuster way of doing things. But when you can provide something like that, what's optimal timing is transformational, or a brand new depreciation schedule, that's transformational, or getting someone a chance to get out of all of the toilet trash and liability, that is transformational, right? So also out of debt, is it Dave Ramsey, the debt-free scream, right? That's transformational stuff. Folks don't want debt at a certain point, or they just want to go into debt when it makes sense. But in the 1031, you got to take on equal or greater value, which often means equal or greater debt, not transformational or transactional. So hopefully you're catching all that. By the way, I want to give a deal story. We're talking a lot of ideas, and so I want to give actual deals that have closed. Again, the Deferred Sales Trust, thousands of closes over 25 years. Michael and I are closing deals very frequently. In fact, last month alone, I think it was over $400 million collectively with the estate planning team, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, and all the different partners across the U.S. So transactions are happening. And it's a big deal. But one deal that really stuck out for me for one of my clients, Michael, was for a gentleman just in that situation. In fact, he was in a 1031 exchange. This is pre-COVID. He sold a property for $7.6 million, and it's in Georgia. It's an apartment complex, 128 units, and he's looking around for deals, and he's going, this is 4.5%, 5% cap rates. These rents are way up. These values are way up. I know it's a seller's market. I mean, he's been doing it for 30 years. He's bought hundreds of properties, and he goes, this doesn't make any sense. And so he had heard about the Deferred Sales Trust a year prior to this. I had met with him in person, walked through everything with him. And so he had it in the back of his mind, but it still wasn't his number one. He was still, the 1031 was his number one until COVID-19 hit. And then everything changed. And he called me a week after everything started to crash and said, I'm with the QI company right now. I am not touching real estate for 6, 12, 24 months. I'm going into the Deferred Sales Trust right now. And the Deferred Sales Trust deferred $1.1 million in tax. Plus, he paid off all of his debt, and that's transformational because he parked his funds all tax deferred, ready to go, ready to pounce when the deals make sense, okay? And that's beautiful for him. He's also, he's a baby boomer. He's getting older, and he also doesn't necessarily want lifestyle. He's going, I don't necessarily want to do all of the management and then headaches and evictions and anything else that's associated with it. And so for him, he's very happy. He's a client of mine. His name is Dave, and you can go to Capital Gains Tax Solutions and hear his story, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And the second one was for a partnership that was selling an apartment complex that I sold for them in Sacramento. We sold it for $270,000 a unit, and they were looking at a 1031. They thought they wanted to trade these units and triple their units, but then they looked at all the debt and they looked at the cap rate and they go, it's just too small. And they go, I don't know if this makes any sense. Plus, the partnership, one had a death in the family, and so this one he had to take his money and go for the family thing and left the other one out to dry. He didn't have enough of a down payment, so they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the cap rates aren't making sense. And this is actually pre-COVID. This is in December of 2019. And he goes, okay, I'm going to use the Deferred Sales Trust. So he used it. And now how happy is he? He's really happy, right? He's going, oh my gosh, like March hit, and the Fed and the economy was in January, February, everyone said all signs look like it's going great. No one was prepared for what happened with COVID-19. And so now he's out of debt, he's tax deferred, he's on the sidelines, and he couldn't be happier, right? So these are the actual deals that are closing that we can share with you. We want to connect with you. We've run out of time now, but we will be back for more episodes on the Deferred Sales Trust made simple. If you want to get in touch with Michael, you can go to estateplanningteam.com, and you can also email him. He's going to share that here in a minute. If you want to get in touch with me, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And just to clarify, I'm a part of the estate planning team. Capital Gains Tax Solution I'm one of the trustees for the Deferred Sales Trust. I don't personally manage money. If you're a financial advisor, we can get you connected with Michael, get you signed up, get you going with the Deferred Sales Trust. But I'll be able to work with you to help market and help to grow your business with that. And then Michael can help train you when it comes to implementing this on a detailed basis. So Michael, you want to share how the listeners can find you right now?
Yeah, our website is myept.com, like my early pregnancy test.com, myept.com. Women always laugh at that. They think that's the funniest thing. But you'll never forget it now. Myept.com is our website. And then my website is mydstplan.com/askmac. So, in just closing, we should probably talk about sometime about the problems of doing a 1031. That's always, and one of them that you pointed out is partnerships. Partnerships do not work in a 1031, and you have to often do what's called a drop and swap. You got to drop the partnership and then swap it. Well, guess what? People hate each other sometimes at the end of these partnerships. There's knives and guns, and it's like a bad divorce. And there's the CPA in the middle of the whole thing. Yeah. And C Corps, all of these double taxation issues, we can resolve these issues. The Deferred Sales Trust is the peacemaker for both groups, because one person can do it because we don't commingle any assets. So one person can do deferred sales trust, and another person doesn't
Yep.
have to. We're working on several cases that are just like that.
We'll cover
right
that.
now.
We'll cover that in the future episode. So
Thank
thank you everybody for listening, and thanks for staying with us. And please share, rate, review, subscribe with a business professional that helps you, or a friend or family who's a financial advisor, commercial real estate syndicator, broker, high-end realtor. We really appreciate any support there, and we will be back soon. Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.